Hi, everybody. So, you'll have all seen the announcement by the Chancellor last night that there's been an extension to the CBILS loan support from the government. Great news. But let's set that in context against the performance so far, or more appropriately, how the banking industry has performed so far. So, about 10 days ago, I reported to you that just over 2,000 applications had been approved out of over 300,000 applications that had been put into the banks. 0.7 of 1% had been approved. It's got better. Yesterday, I read that there'd been 16,000 applications that had been approved. However, set that against France, similar population, similar number of businesses, and almost exactly the same CBILS scheme that we've got. They've approved and distributed 250,000 applications. What about Switzerland? They've got a population of 9 million people. They've distributed 100,000 applications. So they've done 5 times more than us. This bounce back loan that's been announced really better turn the tide for them as a result. What you've also been reporting back to us is unfortunately, the reasons that you've been rejected for a CBILS loan. And what the banks are saying to a lot of you is that you don't qualify, not according to the bank's rules, but according to the CBILS rules. Now, the government's own website is not particularly transparent on this, and you would have to jump onto the British Business Bank's own website and go to lenders' rules to find the individual CBILS qualification criteria that the banks, I think, are using in many instances not to lend. There are 5 of them. Let me go through those with you now. So number 1 is that if your business has losses, those losses cannot be more than 50% of your subscribed share capital at the 31st of December 2019. That's the viability date, by the way. So given that most SMEs have 100 shares worth £1 on their balance sheets, if you've got accumulated losses of £51 or more at the end of December, they could use that rule and say you don't qualify. Number 2 is that you cannot be subject to insolvency proceedings at the viability date. That's pretty obvious. But there's an extension to this, and it says that if you fulfill the criteria that would allow your creditors to place you into insolvency proceedings, then you could also fail. Now, what this means is that if your current liabilities on your balance sheet are more than your current assets, technically you're insolvent. Then, yeah, of course, if you weren't able to fulfill the creditors' demands for their money as and when they wanted it, they could, in theory, place you into insolvency proceedings. But it's only theoretical. And, I mean, there are thousands, if not tens of thousands of businesses that are technically insolvent, not least of which is that an awful lot of people put their directors' loan accounts into creditors due within 1 year that makes them insolvent. That can easily be changed, by the way, and for every one of our clients, then we've got your directors' loan accounts down in long-term liabilities to improve your current ratio. But that could be another reason why the banks could choose to reject you for a CBILS loan. I have seen CBILS loans approved where they're technically insolvent. More of that later. Okay, there are 3 more rules, 2 of them which you know about. The first one is that the loan cannot be more than 25% of your turnover or 2 times your annual wages bill. And the 5th one, pretty obscure, I don't think any of you would breach it, but it's just that the loan cannot be more than 18 months of the business's liquidity needs. Okay, more on the bounce back loan then. You'll have heard the headline announcements, but I'll go through them for completeness anyway. So it's up to £50,000 in borrowing. It's 100% guaranteed by the government, so no risk to the bank whatsoever. The loan is a maximum of 25% of your turnover, and just applying that to the CBILS rules, that would suggest, therefore, do the math, 25%, 50 grand, that if you turn over more than £200,000, you don't qualify. You do, of course. You can turn over £500,000. So long as you're only borrowing less than £50,000, you can still apply for it. If you've already in the CBILS process, if you've got an existing CBILS loan, you can't apply for a bounce back. If you've got a CBILS loan that's less than 50 grand, though, you could swap it to a bounce back and get the 100% guarantee. I would imagine the banks will be pretty keen on doing that to cover themselves completely. If you get a bounce back loan and you subsequently need more, then you can progress onto a CBILS loan. And in terms of the application process, we expect this to be a fairly soft touch. It launches on Monday, and we expect it to, they've got to be turned around in 24 hours anyway. So what we're expecting is that there's going to be a basic credit search on the business, the usual fraud tests, and then it should be granted if you pass both of those. So I'd conclude by saying that for those of you that have been rejected because the banks have said you don't qualify for the CBILS rules, I think that the banks make a decision whether they're going to lend to you or not. And if they really want to lend to you, they'll find a way around these CBILS rules. But if they don't want to lend to you, they will go back and rely on them. I'm sure that I'm going to get some emails from some of my bank managing colleagues on that, but that's my viewpoint, and that's what I've seen in practice. So that's all for now, guys. If you've got any problems with your CBILS applications, get in touch with me. And thank goodness I got through that, because that is take 20 of me trying to get the message across to you. I really am not designed for public speaking. Bye for now.